Hello, Samadan here, and Merry Christmas. I hope you're having a wonderful festive period. Again, apologies I can't be with you here on a live stream for the Wowhead blog, but I hope you're having a fantastic Mage Tower and making lots of gold in the process. I'm going to go through all the sort of gold making news for this week and go through what I've been doing as well in terms of making gold, and we're just going to have a little catch up on everything from the gold making point of view. So first and foremost, definitely Mage Tower still seems to be flavour of the month at the moment. Lots of good sales coming through. In fact, here on Samadan, let me just swap on over to the main scene. You can see here on my TSM graph, we've had amazing sales. We were down here at 3.6 million and we managed to hit a high of just over 5 million, which is the most I've ever had in terms of gold. I haven't had this much gold. Let me just move this across a bit. I haven't had this much gold since I bought the Brutosaur all the way back here at the early stages of Battle for Azeroth. So this is amazing, this uptick of sales in this past few weeks. You can see some good sales certainly at the beginning, and then a big drop down here where, to be honest, I got a little bit overzealous. I started running out of materials and I really needed exotic hide, and I bought a whole load of Spirit of Harmony, you can see here, which was a little bit too expensive. You can see the average price there, 450 gold, which was, you know, a bit expensive, but I needed the exotic leather and it was going for 400 gold on my server, so it was actually the cheapest thing I could do at the time, because it came out at something like 22 gold per exotic leather once you trade it in. But that said, I still have had some good sales since then, and again the Mage Tower is doing well. All sorts of professions, all sorts of different parts of different expansions, so it really is lovely to see this whole reinvigoration of the old world markets. And for me as a hoarder who had loads of old materials, this is perfect for someone who collected up all those materials back when the Relic of the Past was going to be a thing. I'm making good use of all of those, so it's a fantastic time to be a gold maker. So many different choices and opportunities to make gold. So what I'll do is I'll go through the Wowhead blog and all the bits and pieces that are on that. But first I'll just go through my mailboxes here just to give you a rundown of, you know, a typical example of what's been selling at the moment. So Samadan here, not a huge number of sales here, 10,000 gold. Interestingly, you can see green winter clothes, red winter clothes starting to come through now that we are in the festive season. A few other bits and pieces, but I've had a reasonable amount of enchants selling, as well as the odd bits of tailoring clothes, as well as the crafted dreadful clothes as well. So those have all been doing very strong. The food's been doing very well as well. So the Spineflint souffle I've got there, but in general most of them, Seraph Tenders there, those have been selling very well at the moment as well. So that's kind of like a typical small mailbox for me at this sort of time. And you can see here over on Bridget, my engineer and jewel crafter, a nice variety of different gems here. We've got the primal diamonds, imperial amethysts there, kraken's eyes, versatile skystone. So if you can do a large range of the different jewel crafting gems, there's a lot of different markets here you can make use of for the Mage Tower. I wasn't quite ready, so I haven't really got the cataclysm gems, so I'm still working on those, and the Legion ones, the Saber's Eyes, I haven't got those either. But I have spent a little bit of gold just to try and get those professions going. They are locked behind questing and time gated for cataclysms especially, so that is a tricky one to actually catch up on. You really needed to be prepared for that one, but there's still a good range of stuff. I've had a few good mount sales as well, so really jewel crafting is doing very well at the moment. Engineering, I sold a couple of the Dragonling trinkets. I'll talk about those in the blog a bit later. Those are very exciting. So there's been very strong activity on the jewel crafting side of things. Yeah, I'd say Bridget's been doing just as well as Samadan in terms of sales over the past few weeks. So here's my leatherworker Earthen, and by far the best seller so far has been the leatherworking crafted dreadful gear. You can see here there's a few going for a reasonable price of around 10,000, 72,000 in this particular mailbox. I've got up to 502,000 on Earthen. Now I did actually overspend on Earthen, so that's not all the gold. You can see here I bought way too much Spirit of Harmony, and that smart average buy price is wateringly high, 450 gold. So I spent too much money on that, and so I'm trying to recoup that by going to the trader. If I just pick this up first. So for Alliance, it's over here. So if you speak to Crystal, the Spirit of Harmony vendor, you can get 20 exotic leather for 1 Spirit of Harmony. So if I were to buy all of this, a maximum amount, I could buy 11,000 exotic leather with this 580 Spirit of Harmony, and I have on me 1,200. So I've gone way too much. I got carried away, and that was the mistake I made, unfortunately. Whether I can recoup my costs on this, I'm trying to sell the exotic leather. Currently it's at 30 gold. As long as I can sell it for more than 22.5 gold, then I'll at least break even on some of this. But I have noticed the leather, and all the Crafted Dreadful gear for that matter, has started to slow down after the first week, especially on my small server. So I'm doubtful whether I'll recover all that money, but still, we are very much in the profit here. Again, nearly back up to that 5 million that I was at before, so still fantastic sales. But bear that in mind. That's kind of, don't get carried away like I did. That's kind of one of the lessons to be learned in terms of this whole balance between supply and demand. Is really a great example you can see here in action with everyone that's been farming all the exotic leather. If that's your thing, lots and lots of people were down here doing the goat farm around here for exotic leather. Or if you go to Jade Forest, there's some turtles here in the Windward Isle. You can get some exotic leather there if you need it. Different servers will have different economies of scale. Last time I was over in the Valley of Four Winds, there was at least someone on each of the spots, and the hyperspawn was kicking off. And if you were in one of the spots, you could just keep on just getting loads and loads of exotic leather that way. I decided to go the purchase route, and I kind of overdid it, but even so, great gold to be had. Now, blacksmithing has been probably the most lackluster out of the 3 main professions that can make the armour. We do have some sales here of the Crafted Dreadful gear, 38,000 on El Morte here, which is fantastic. So there are a few sales, few and far between, but nice when you can get them. Of course, blacksmith is being useful for the ghost iron ore and turning that into ghost iron bars, which should be needed by various other professions as well. So there's a really good interplay between all the different professions, especially in Pandaria, so make sure you make use of your daily cooldowns as well as everything else. Now, Alchemy does have potential to make gold. I have made a little bit of gold in the run-up with Mage Tower. You can see here a couple of the BFA flasks, the Greater Flask Currents, Undertow, and things like that, as well as some of the current content stuff is still kind of selling. The problem here is the balance between the supply and demand of the herbs on your server, the Zenithid, the Anchorweed, and whether you can get a Silas proc, which I luckily do have at the moment, so I won't spend too long here on this character. I'll make use of that later. But as you can see, no current sales here, but I'll just pop those on and see if I can get some sales over the next few hours perhaps. But by all accounts, these are potentially some good sellers. You can see here I actually I'm not able to sell these for a decent price at the moment, but I might be able to get something out of the Greater Flask of the Currents, depending on that price. 2,500 is quite expensive, so we'll see how that goes. I haven't got the full complement of potions there either, simply down to lack of herbs at a reasonable price on my server. If I planned ahead, then I could have scooped up some of these way before time, but as it was, I got caught short on this one, so I haven't made as much gold as I have on other professions. And lastly, Inscription has had a few reasonable sales. I haven't really restocked up on enough items here, and I really don't have a good breadth of the old world professions here, but there have been a few different things that have sold with Inscription, the odd old world BFA trinket and things like that, so certainly don't discount Inscription from this point of view, but a few missive sales for now will be fine. So as you can see through that very quick run through, in that time I've sold a few more enchants, eternal stats buffed by bleach, and a bit of food in this sort of short hour it's taken me to list my auctions on there. So sales are kicking off whilst I've got this on in the background. Let's go through the blog and talk about everything else we have. So here we have the blog again. So the main, okay, more things are kicking off there. Another fortified leech is just sold. So the main thing here, Mage Tower, still going strong, as you saw with all my mailboxes there. Lots of interesting sales across all the different professions. It's really nice to see how this supply and demand all works, and it's very interesting from a gold maker's standpoint. I'm right in the middle as a crafter. I'm buying materials from the farmers and I'm selling my end products to the customers. I was fortunate in that I had all of the crafted dreadful gear at the start, so I was primed and ready to start making some sales. My main bottleneck was exotic leather. I've solved that. I've kind of oversold that now, but I should be fine to just try and sell as much as I can over the next few weeks, and hopefully there'll still be options for many players on different servers at different levels. So if you're after farming things, yes, exotic leather may still be in demand. Magnificent hide, if you're doing a daily cooldown for that. As I mentioned, the Valley of the Four Winds and the Jade Forest are good places to get your exotic leather. I showed you where the Spirit of Harmony vendor was for the Alliance side. You've got the same for Horde just across the Vale, and so you can trade in Spirit of Harmony for 20 exotic leather. If the price point works out, do these maths yourself and divide it by 20 on your price of Spirit of Harmony and see if it's worth a little flip there perhaps. I mentioned as well, Zenithid and Anchorweed, as well as the other BFA herbs are doing well, so look at the potions and flasks from various expansions, but mainly BFA seems to be the strong point that's selling at the moment, so those materials are in high demand. If you can turn a profit with the stock you have, then by all means go into that market. Jewel crafting is really nice, so they've got the primal diamonds for the Pandaria stat gems. Those are selling quite strong for me at the moment, as well as the other. You've got the Queen's Garnet, which is the Cataclysm one. That could be an interesting one actually with the Queen's Garnet, because you get them from the currency Mote of Darkness and Essence of Corrupted Deathwing from doing the LFR raid for Deathwing. So do that and check any of your alts, because they might have some of the currency and you can turn that into a quick profit perhaps. Maybe you were farming some mounts in the past and you've got some of this currency, so it's worth having a look and see if you can make some sales that way. Of course, if you can make the Queen's Garnets yourself into the stat gems, then you'll get some really good sales that way. And don't forget, if you do have a leather worker, don't forget to use your cooldown for the cheaper magnificent hide you can do each day. I've been using prismatic scales for that cooldown because you can use that as well as exotic leather, so there's a couple of different options there. And then the bulk of my sales, drums, enchants, especially leg and shoulder, consumables, and of course the crafted dreadful gear, is all doing well. It has slightly slowed down on my server at the moment. Whether that will pick up over the holiday period remains to be seen, so I don't think these markets are completely out of the options there, but you will get more and more people trying to make some quick gold as and when they have the opportunity, so your mileage may vary depending on your server and where you're at the moment. Now, an interesting thing that did come up this week, Atomic Radio reported that the Ghost Iron Dragonling, this is a trinket from Pandaria, is potentially very good, especially as a healer in the Mage Tower. What it is your attacks have a chance to summon a Ghost Iron Dragonling and that fights for you and can proc some really good damage, which could be very, very useful. So the summary here, as Atomic Radio has gone through, so the Ghost Iron Dragonling needs Ghost Iron bars and Windwall cloth to make. It does craft at eye level 39, but if you use a Relic of the Past 5, then you can make it eye level 54, which is the maximum. And then it has these 3 different cogwheel sockets, which are the Tinker's Gears, which you can use to actually boost certain stats, so do a little bit of min-maxing there, particular to your character. And then the Dragonling proc is high and it does great damage, so this is the effect it has. I would highly recommend. I've got a video here which goes through all the different nuances of this and going through, in this case, a Holy Paladin, and I've got it. This jumps in at 4 minutes 20, I believe, which is where they talk about the actual Dragonling itself. So that could be a potential good seller. I've already sold a couple of them on my server. Very easy to make and some good profits there as well. But on the whole, I would say the Mage Tower has been absolutely fantastic. I mentioned this at the beginning. Absolutely fantastic. Reinvigorating the game for people who wanted to do the challenges again. And it's really reinvigorated the gold making market for those that had a good spread of professions. And there's lots of different niches that people can try. So there's a bit of something for everyone. It's not quite as, say, exclusive as the legendary market. There's lots of different niches and different ways you can find to make gold, which is what I love about gold making. There's no one stock solution. So for me, the Mage Tower gets a big thumbs up. So now moving on, John aka DalaGG has put together a lovely video guide and write-up on the principles of gold making. So this is mainly aimed at beginners, just going through the kind of the overall theory behind gold making in terms of like the cycles of things, which is the main topic here, going through the cycles of when raids come out, when patches come out, when expansions come out, and due to the usual peaks and troughs and supplies and demands that come out through that. And then moving on, talking about consistency. I mean, this is one of the things that I always think of with professions, is just keep yourself current with the professions, and they do all that setup, and then consistently post things on the auction house, and you see sales, guaranteed. That's the way I make gold. Do the setup with the professions first, and then consistently sell those items and use TSM or some other add-on to recraft and relist what you've sold. It's actually deceptively simple. It's just the nuances that can take some time to get experience with. And then this is where it comes in, knowing one's market. Obviously, the more you get into a market, the more you will understand the market, understand the prices on your server. I mean, when I started gold making back in Legion, I just focused on a very small niche, which was enchanting at the time. And it's only now that I've slowly expanded over the course of a couple more expansions to actually incorporate all professions. And I don't think of myself as an expert on all professions. Even at this point, there's still gaps in my markets. There's always something to learn. Now, this was an interesting one. Don't lose gold. This one hit home, particularly as I saw on my TSM graph recently with that Spirit of Harmony purchase. It's very tempting to get carried away with, oh, if I just need to buy this and I get that, and then these are selling really well, but then when you actually look at it, I bought way more than I needed. The supply and the demand wasn't as high as what my supply was giving me, so I went from a moment of drought to a moment of plenty, and the price points aren't quite matching up at this point. I'm just about okay for now. I'm still making gold, which is the important thing. Don't lose gold, but just kind of think about this kind of thing. Okay, what could you do better? You know, the question to ask, did I get the best return for my time, is a very good question to ask here. You know, you can always find efficiencies and ways to make more gold, certainly. And again, thinking here long-term over short-term, as you can see with the Mage Tower, it's very much a short-term thing. This is only available, originally it was going to be for 2 weeks, now it's been expanded to 4 weeks. But if you're thinking long-term, you could have done the preparation for this before the Mage Tower came out. We knew it was coming. You could have looked at what happened with Legion and then maybe made a few adjustments based on the testing on the PTR and things like that. So then taking that forward, having a look at the cycle, looking at expansions that are coming up, looking at the patches that are coming up, buying things and then selling them over a greater period of time, like we have with the Minion of Grumpus at the moment. If you get that now, hold on to it and the price will go up when it's less available. And so you'll see that kind of best return for your gold if you're willing to hold on to things for a bit longer. So really nice write-up here by Dala. Conclusions, obviously, make it as simple as possible. Simple, repeatable, profitable, which I think is a great summary of what to go for in gold making. I try to make sure, you know, obviously enjoy what you're doing at all times. That's the most important thing. And then when it comes to learning a subject, I always start off small and try and grow my knowledge from there. And then if you find something that is profitable, then double down on that. There goes some netherweave bags. A few more of those. Surprisingly, didn't get a fourth one sold there. So moving on, talking about cycles and preparation and thinking of the long game, Lazy Goldmaker has a really good video here, just talking through his theories about what to prepare for 9.2. Obviously 9.2 is now on the PTR, so we're starting to get some information filtering down from that point of view. He's got some very interesting theory crafting going on about legendaries, which ones he thinks might be in more demand this time round with the raid, and then looking at the materials and start stockpiling now, because as people start to move away from these zones where certain materials are plentiful and they're going to go into a new area where there are new materials, some of these old materials might not be so readily available, and so when's the good time to buy those, and how much will you need, and how much will they get used and be in demand for the future. So it's really well worth having a look at the PTR. Lazy Goldmaker and Mantis both do a great job of covering the PTR, so check out their Twitch streams and YouTube videos. So if you are thinking legendaries ahead, start collecting some materials now, because I've got a feeling that's going to kick off with 9.2. And then, of course, no blog will be complete without Mantis giving us a video. He's been doing some great videos of late. This one talking about the Minion of Grumpus, which is a seasonal event which we have going on now, and he goes through all the what you need to do in order to get the Minion of Grumpus, and then sell that at a later date. I've been having some great sales as well with the winter clothes as well from your tailoring, so don't forget those as well. Plus you'll get the eggnog and things like that around this sort of time, so there's always little niches to look out for during these seasonal events. So that pretty much wraps up the blog for this week, and actually this is my last blog post for 2021. So I want to take this opportunity. Thank you all for reading all these posts over the past year. Thank you to Wowhead for allowing me this little corner of the internet to share all my thoughts with you, and a big thank you, of course, to the WoW Economy subreddit, without which a lot of these articles wouldn't come from, and extending that further into all the players and gold makers and content creators who share their knowledge and their time in order to help us all make some gold. I mean, this is, and I've said this before, the most welcoming and accepting community I've ever had the pleasure to be a part of. So thank you all for those who have an interest in gold making. So from me, Samadan, Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and I'll see you all in 2022.